Welcome, everybody, to the Broken Wing Racing League. I'm your host, Jason Alvarez. We're here at round 5 at Monza for the GT3 Championship. Little did you know, I was talking for about 5 minutes, and I had my mic muted. So, here we are. Start of qualifying. I was bringing a little breakdown of what was happening in practice. Trey Mistak, the only driver to make it into the 147s. 147.777 was his lap. Some of these drivers are going to go out there on track in just a second, and I'm sure we'll see one of them. And Andrew Korostecki is going to be the first driver out there to take us to a hot lap. One thing I'm going to denote here is that while I was saying Trey Mistak was P1 in practice, P2 to P16 were all in the 148s. And from P17 all the way down to the end of the grid, which is a big packed grid. I think we got 30-something drivers. 31 drivers. And I will say that from P17 onwards to like P28, I believe, was when we finally saw them exit the 149s, and then you had a few drivers outside of that in the 150s, 151s, but P27 onward to P31, that's the only variance that's very massive versus the 148s and the 149s out of most of the grid. And they're just kind of edging that out every lap by lap, and we're going to see that as Andrew Korostecki goes for his first time lap here in qualifying. And if you're just joining us up there at the top, the leaderboard has not been set yet. No one has a last lap recorded. Everyone is out either on an out lap or on their first flying lap. Andrew Korostecki is the first driver to get out there on his flyer. Hopefully he puts in something that's going to stay within track limits. You always want to get one banker lap before you try to go out and really give it your gusto for that, second timed lap if you can do it. That way you at least have a safety net going in. Oh, as I say that, he is going awfully slow to allow Peter Flanner on by, and an unprecedented thing's happening. That's two drivers now that have passed him, really just letting people through who are on those flyer laps. So I guess we're on board now with Peter Flanner, who's definitely attacking. We'll take a brief look here and see what he's going to be able to do. I foresee the real shakeup is going to be with the second timed lap. Everyone in the shuffle of traffic may not be pushing as hard as they can, depending on messing with the driver in front of them. Peter Flanner looks like he was able to get out there in front of Andrew Korostecki without issue, which is going to place him in first for a second, but only for a second, as Chris Stewart behind goes through with a 148.3. Trey Mistak goes through with a 148.4 in P2. Simon Witten in P3 with a 148. Eddie Layton with a 148 in P4. Chris Chitterling in P5. Peter Flanner in P6. Tyler Kern in P7. Chris Lambert crosses the line, and he goes to P8. Let's see who is going to knock him down. Brandon Renfro in P1 with a 148.3. Christopher Daniel in P3 with a 148.3. Dylan Maroney goes to P9 with a 149. Tyler Kern in P10 with a 149.7. Grant Michael in P11. Eric Koonsman in P12. Jeremy DeMeza in P13. Kyle Howe crosses the line, and he is going to take P12 at the moment. Steve McAllister goes to P13 here. And one of the surprising ones that I'm going to be looking at is Elliot Burton. He has not set a time just yet. He was P2 in the practice session with a 148.002, as clean of a lap as you can get out of any driver. Noah Hoskinson crosses the line and goes into the pits. He does a 149.1. That's going to be a very good time. From P2 to P16, everyone was in the 148s. From P17 to P26, everyone was in the 149s. Setting a low bar 149.1 for Noah Hoskinson can bank him a really good position in the at least top 20. There's no doubt. Brandon Renfro has not been dethroned as P1 provisional right now, but it is going to be Elliott Burton. Can he do it? Craig Carroll crosses the line to take P10 with a 149.184, just behind Noah Hoskinson. That's very close. Eddie Layton crosses the line, does a 148.3 to take P1. Andrew Korosecki crosses the line to do a take P9 with a 149.1. Chris Schierling improves his position by 1. Little squirrely on the exit, though. Where's Elliott Burton going to shake up as he's about to cross the line? Where is he going to stake to this? Christopher Daniel crosses the line and takes P1 with a 148.2. Elliott Burton is now with a P5 with a 148.4. Trey Mistack, what can he do? He was P1 in the standings in practice. Is he going to be able to make it happen on this lap? We have over 10 drivers that have not set a time on the board. Steve McAllister improves his position by 2 with a P17. Eric Rodriguez goes to P15 at the moment. Nicholas DeVille in P22. Just crossed the line there. Trey Mistack is going to be the favorite here for taking P1. Elliott Burton just behind him. What can these drivers do? They're both on a flyer. They're both on 1:48 predictions. Can they squeeze out a couple of tenths in the final corner and put it into the 147s? It's going to be close. To take P1, you need a 148.1 or 148.2 even. Christopher Daniel is sitting it with a 148.241. So 2/10 is all Trey Mistack needs right now. As he crosses the line. Has he improved his time? He has! Trey Mistack just has a 147.910. And where is that put Elliott Burton, who's sitting P6 right now? He can do better than a 148. 148.4 is what he has on the board. He is P7. He goes to P3 with a 148.200. Wow. That is one fantastic lap out of Elliott Burton. Jacob Simmons just ahead of him in the BMW Beans car. He goes to P2 with a 148.162. And Jeff Kaufhold in P10 with a 148.7. Nobody thus far has been really pushed out of a position. We have Zachary Nunnery. I think he told me to say that correctly, and I didn't. I'll have to check the Discord on that one. Oh, man. I think it's Nunnery. I apologize, Zach. He is on a flyer. We've got 1 minute to go before qualifying ends and the race starts. Zachary has not set a time on the board, but he's about to. Where can he place this? He's good in the 148s right now. That could put him in a really good spot. As it clears, he goes to P9. Oh, just goes back to P10. The driver behind him of Simon Whitten goes just slightly faster. But P10 still great for Zachary there. We have Austin McGill, who is rounding the penultimate corner. Where can he place this? The Porsche Rexy. He has not set a time, but this will be a pretty good one. If this is looking to what I think it is on the prediction, he could be in the top 5. And Austin McGill goes to P5, and Chris Schierling goes to P6. Oh, just gets pushed out by Chris Stewart, who goes to P5, just slightly faster. Chris Stewart had a 148.271, and Austin McGill had a 148.275. Separated by 300 thousandths of a second. That is rough. Eric Mack, one of the last drivers on the grid who has not set a time. Matthew Wyckoff has not set a time. I believe Matthew Wyckoff is serving a qualification ban, so that's the reason for that, as well as Joshua Herron, who might be also serving a qualification ban. I forget if that's the case for both drivers. I know one of those drivers is definitely serving it. So 2 drivers that cannot do qualifying. David Flanagan in P11 with a 148.5. What it looks like from P2 all the way down to P15. We have 148s on the board. P16 all the way down to P25 with 149s. Everyone's separated by just a second. And where's Eric Mack go? He goes 148.3. That puts him in P10. And Zachary Nunnery goes to P5 with 148.2, which pushes Eric Stewart and Austin McGill slightly back by 1 position, as well as Chris Chitterling. And really no surprises there, folks. We are at the end. Is Elliot Burton trying to go for one last attempt? Does he have that in the cards here? He's still out there. As he crosses line, does he improve his time? He doesn't. But you know who does? The Porsche Rexy of Austin McGill does a 148.1, putting him to P2, pushing back Jacob Simmons and Elliot Burton. Oh my. That is it. Chris Lambeth improves. Eric Mack or Chris Lambeth might improve their time. I'm not sure which one crossed the line last, but that is something else. I can't wait to watch turn 1. Who will get the strike? Yes, that's gonna be the one. That's gonna be the probably a breakdown once we get into the replays. Maybe a Max Lewis situation where car goes over the other car. Don't quite know. All right, we got some drivers on the board. And just briefly, we have Trey Mistak in P1, Austin McGill in P2, Jacob Simmons P3, Elliot Burton P4, Christopher Daniel P5, Zachary Nunnery P6, Chris Stewart in P7, Chris Chitterling P8, Eddie Layton P9. The blimp is going to be terrible for this. Brandon Renfro in P10, Eric Mack in P11, Chris Lambert at P12, Simon Whitten P13, David Flanagan 14, Peter Flanner 15, Jeff Koffold in 16, Andrew Korsecki in 17, Craig Carroll in 18, Noah Hodgkinson in 19, Eric Rodriguez in 20, Dylan Maroney in 21, Tyler Kern in 22, Steve McAllister 23, Grant Michael in 24, Bryce Bombach in 25, Kyle Howe in 26, Eric Koonsman in 27, Jeremy DeMeza in 28, Nicholas DeVille in 29, Matthew Wyckoff in 30, and Joshua Herron in 31. That is the lineup for the grid here. That is a lot of guys to say the names of, and hopefully correctly. Maybe Chopper's not so bad. Yeah, let's get a good view of that old part of the track. That's really fun to race in some of those mixed events when they place it. I can't remember. I think a NASCAR went here one time for the oval. Quite choppy. Back to the chopper. We're about to get started. I think we're just waiting for 3 more drivers to grid up. And if you're on the Discord, we're about to get started. I'll shelve that for the moment. And this will be an interesting start. Man, the blimp is just farther than it's always been on this track. Take it back a couple. Who's it going to be into turn one? Is it going to be Porsche Rexy or Trey Mistak and that Ferrari yellow? All right. Just get a good overhead view. What's going to happen? Trey's taking off already. And look at Porsche Rexy's already in a little bit of a struggle as he did not get a good jump on the start, but he's got beans on the inside of Jacob Simmons. Looks like Elliott Burton's going to take P2 at the corner as Porsche Rexy of Austin McGill's going to have to back out there. But Elliott Burton goes through. Oh! And there he is! Jacob Simmons takes P2 in the corner. Elliott Burton behind. And did we have an incident in the backfield? It looks clean, folks. It looks clean. I might have spoken too soon, but we won't know for sure. Oh. And that clean that I said was clean, you can see it in the background. It is not clean. It is definitely not clean. But out of the top 10 so far, it looks fairly solid. As one driver goes off in the backfield, we'll get a look at that in just a second. But the battle for Elliott Burton here in Porsche Rexy of Austin McGill, who's going to keep it ahead? It looks like Elliott Burton so far is still going to stay ahead. And Christopher Daniel in the car number 92 right there is also right there on the back of a Porsche Rexy. And side by side, a couple of these drivers are going. Who is that back there? Is that Eddie Layton? No, it's Chris Lambeth and Brandon Renfro for battling for P10. Brandon Renfro on the outside. Unable to make a move just yet. And here's Christopher Daniel. We have a lot of drivers already in the pit lane, so something to look at in just a few seconds here, folks. Nothing's going to change just yet there. And we'll go take a look at that incident. And here's Andrew Korostecki. Oh! And I believe that was Dylan Maroney and Andrew Korostecki coming together. That's car 40, number 46 and 45. And that is that first incident. And then we have Eric Rodriguez, was also involved in that. He's in the backfield there as he's going to get touched. Oh, he goes right into his teammate. I believe they're teammates. Or they have been teammates before. And just takes on that. Steve McAllister also slightly involved in this incident. And wow, just really collected a lot of people there. Nope, he gets through. Was the incident. I think he was fine there. And also collected, and that was Noah Hoskinson. As you can see, he is that teal Porsche, and he goes off car number 14 there, and he is just spinning, and then bam, gets hit again by Eric Rodriguez, and that is it for him. Bryce Bomback also involved in that incident of some sort. He might have skated away. It looks like he's clean. Craig Carroll also involved. Oh, just loses the rear actually on the curbing. Definitely not that. And then Andrew Korostecki is coming out. He has cleaned up his car and gone completely through. Good on him. That is the last of the crashes. I spoke too soon. Noah Hoskinson is coming out on track. Oh no, I think he's just parking it. I think he's just parking it. That is the lap 1, turn 3 incident, but we're all looking good for the rest of the field here. Trey Missack still leading with Jacob Simmons in P2, Elliott Burton in P3, Austin McGill in P4, Christopher Daniel in P5. Zachary Nunnery's a little bit further back, 2.4 seconds. He's got Chris Stewart, car number 915 there, and Chris Chitterling also right back there. Ooh, it's the battle of Chris's. We have Chris Lambeth, Zachary Nunnery, Chris Chitterling, and look at that. Zachary Nunnery gets out of the way and getting out of the way of a bunch of drivers. What is happening? He is slowing down, and that is 3 more drivers that get past. What could be said about that? I am shocked. Who was that? Zachary Nunnery, who was sitting P7, is now back in P11 on a straightaway. That doesn't make any sense. And here's Eric Mack, car number 10, on the outside of Simon Whitten, or now on the inside. Can he take P13? What's the difference here with the Porsche and the Audi on the straight? Is it going to be happening? He's still going to stick it down on the inside. Simon Whitten cannot go defensive. He's already claimed his line. Oh! Eric Mack just keeps it right in there. Further ahead, we have Chris Lambeth, who's going to overtake Eddie Layton for P8 with Brandon Renfro in car number 7. That orange Porsche also might have a go at Eddie Layton. No, he slots in. And up to the battle of Chris is Chris Lambeth is 2.7 seconds back to Christopher Chitterling and Chris Stewart. And technically, Christopher Daniel. We got 4 Chris's in a row, P5 through P8. That is something else. On board with Peter Flanner, who's looking at taking a position. He's up 4 positions at the start of this race. Peter Flanner in P11 at the moment. It says P12, but he's actually just passed Eddie Layton. And is he going to be able to make another move here on Zachary Nunnery, who's had an issue? I don't know what that issue was, but he was on the... Oh! He must have cut the corner and got a slowdown penalty. Yes, I'm going to make it rain. I came to that on my own, but I did read that just as well as... I just read that as well. So that's probably what it was, a slowdown penalty. And I just wasn't thinking. I'm all hopped up on Red Bull right now, so I apologize. Christopher Daniel, who is still been as close as he's always been at the start of this race. Actually, it looks like Elliott Burton has backed off a little bit from Jacob Simmons, who are now just the 3 of them are really just together. And on board with Christopher Daniels' roll bar, looking at the Porsche Rexy of Austin McGill in car number 21. Is he going to try to make a move on him shortly? On the last lap, he was 0.3 faster than Austin McGill. And he has a best lap. His best lap was a 1:48.0. Austin McGill's was a 1:48.3. I know he's got a toe. Does that 0.3 really make up for it? I'm not sure. Austin McGill also has a toe of his own of Elliott Burton, so maybe he'll finally be able to make a move. Does he have a great exit? So Austin's not. He's putting pressure, but he's not going to make a move. And it almost looks like he backs off before the corner. And if anything, it looks like Austin McGill might try to have a go here at Elliott Burton. Is Elliott Burton going to stay defensive? No need at the moment. And it's not happening just yet. Eric Mack, who is sitting P16 at the moment. He's got Jeff Koffhold just ahead of him for P15. This is kind of a gaggle of cars here. They all kind of have similar pace. We're going to see that everyone was in the 148s or 149 in qualifying, so I don't see any difference here in the race pace. All doing the last of a 149 for these drivers that we're looking at. Not a lot of movement yet, but here is two drivers of a different team. It's a white and blue of Trident Racing, Trident something, and there's a pass for Dylan Maroney, who overtakes Eric Koonsman for P24. And we have Jeff Koffhold, who looks like he was going to try to make a move, but he doesn't. And while that's playing out, I'm going to take a look at Matthew Wyckoff. He started this race in P30. He's up to P19 right now. That's 11 positions. Grant Michael behind him is up 4 positions, and Kyle Howe just behind him up 5 positions to P21. Just ahead of him, though, is Joshua Herron, who's P18. So Matthew Wyckoff and Joshua Herron have really lucked out that that incident occurred. It really jumped them up a lot of positions. 13 and 11 for both. And here we have David Flanagan and Brandon Renfro battling out for a position. Take a look here. David Flanagan's in P13 and overtook Brandon Renfro on the turn 1. Is anyone else going to have the gusto to make a move onto turn 1? We have to see it happen. Beyond that one that we just sort of saw, static TV didn't really capture it that well. And what is happening here? They're side by side. It almost looked 3 wide by the camera angle. Is Austin McGill going to go for the outside? It looks defensive for Elliott Burton. And if Austin does not plant his attack right, he could be overtaken by Christopher Daniel, who's definitely looking to make a move of his own. Which car is it going to be ahead in P3 at turn 1? It looks like the move is on. And there he goes for it, Austin McGill in the Porsche track seat. Is he good on the brakes? No, he's not. He has to escape it. Oh, that's going to be a slowdown penalty for him if he didn't exit correctly. And down 2 positions he goes. Elliott Burton keeps the spot. And Christopher Daniel probably saying we take those. With Chris Chitterling here. Got number 1, 2, 3. That white and black Porsche. And Chris Stewart ahead of him. And the gold and black Porsche. And Chris Lambeth there in the background in the Mercedes AMG. That looks like yellow. Or could be orange. I think that's like a yellowish orange. Let's say like peach. Like a peach color. But he's there in the background. He's 4.1 seconds back for the Battle of the Chris's, so I don't believe we're going to see a push yet out of Chris Lambeth. But if he does make it up, that's going to be an impressive feat. He's got to cut 4 seconds and, 18 laps. Nah, 16 laps. Now, can Christopher Daniel make a move on Elliott Burton? He is right there on the rear. I think this is closer than it was when the Porsche actually got alongside. Look at him. He is separated by nothing on that bumper. Oh, he follows him into the braking zone, though. He does not make a move into turn 1. Oh, I think that was contact. Or minor. Maybe it might have been a 0x. And back further in the field, we have Chris Schitterling, who's still about the same as ever. 3-4 tenths back. So now a little bit further back at 7 tenths. I think the real interesting thing that's going to happen here is there's a lot of blue flags around Trey Mistack. He comes through it cleanly, but Jacob Simmons has 2 drivers. He passes one, but he's got Andrew Korostecki ahead of him. So you got Eric Rodriguez and Andrew Korostecki, 2 blue flags that give her the beans. Jesus Christ. Jacob Simmons' cursed livery added again. I didn't even see that addition. Or if that was an addition, that's the first time I'm seeing it. That's beans from, oh man, that one show at Disney. Elliott Burton has not made it through just yet. Christopher Daniel still behind in P4. It looked like they swapped on the timing sheet, but that has yet to happen. Should be interesting. He's not as close as he was previously, so I don't expect him to dive down to the inside. He's still got to worry about that lap traffic, though. What? Now, Jacob Simmons has not caught up to Andrew Korostecki, who's about a second ahead of him, 9 tenths. He's definitely reeling him in, but Andrew Korostecki doesn't have to slow down too much. He's got to be predictable. But is that creating a larger gap? I think so. Trey Mistack is 2.7 seconds up from Jacob Simmons. That 2.7, 2.8 now, he could claw back in the pit strategy if he tries to undercut Trey Mistack. This is some bad traffic he's got to deal with at the moment. Mind you, Trey Mistack dealt with both drivers in one swoop on one lap. And we have P2 and P3 and P4. Haven't cleanly got past them just yet. And I think this will be the moment for Jacob Simmons to pass Andrew Korostecki, as we can't see him on the screen. I think he just disappeared. There he is. Holy. That is scary. Just blinking. But that leaves P4 and P4. Elliott Burton, P3 and P4 to pass as well. And maybe this is the moment for both of them to get by. And it is so. Eric Rodriguez, very respectable driver there. Is he going to let Austin McGill through? Oh, Austin McGill almost goes wide there, but definitely not a great entry for him on that move there. Eric Mack, who is looking at Tyler Kern's back end there, and is he going to be able to make a move down the turn 1? It's the Audi versus Ferrari there. And not yet. Peter Flanner had a bit of a crash, so we're going to take a brief look at that. Peter Flanner, who was in the top 10. That was P10 for him. Ooh. That was him and Zachary Nunnery. No good. Jacob Simmons still in P2, Elliott Burton in P3. And Grant Michael, who is sitting in P20. And that's Steve McAllister, Bryce Bomback. Ooh. He lets both of them by, but maybe he thought he was going to blow the corner entirely. That's 2 positions lost for him at the moment. Not much of a crash. It says it was a crash. And Eric Mack passing Tyler Kern. Joshua Herron and Brandon Renfro also passed as well. So maybe a slowdown penalty for Tyler Kern, but that's 3 positions lost. And another press and feet. Joshua Herron in P17 or 16 at the moment is up 15 positions from the start of this race. That's definitely a great recovery drive. And okay, Chris Lambeth is the first driver to go into the pits We're at a stint of 12 laps, folks, and Chris Lambeth was P8 before he went into the pit lane. He's down to P17 at the moment. Got a couple drivers going into the pits now. We should see a shake-up here. When he enters back out, he's still going to be dropping down the order. P18, P19. Even further back, that's Steve McAllister and Dylan Maroney. Or Matthew Wyckoff, maybe. Chris Lambeth is down in P21. That's where P8 dropped him down that far. But he's the first driver to pull the trigger. Brandon Renfro is the second driver to pull the trigger. He's out in P24. And where's this traffic? Did they pass it? Looks like Elliott Burton and Christopher Daniel was able to get past. Austin McGill still has Andrew Korostecki to deal with. But he's also got Chris Stewart just behind. That's Peter Flanner in P28 there. 2 drivers. Both let him by. They are staying out. The top 3, top 4, top 5. And say 6 and 7 all out still. Eddie Layton, he's still there in P8. And Simon Witten behind him. They're both staying out. David Flanagan also out. Zachary Nunnery goes into the pit lane. He was P11. Eric Mack crosses the line. He's going to get some positions, but he's going to lose some after the pit stop. Guess one of the things here is where's going to be not Chris Lambeth. All right, Chris Lambeth is not gotten a lot out of this just yet. He's taken a couple positions, but not much. Oh, what do we have here? That was an incident. Doesn't even say this is a crash, but here we have Dylan Maroney and Steve McAllister on the exit of turn 1 and 2. Oh, they come together. I don't know what you see here, folks. They're side by side. It looks like he gets a little squirrely on the exit. No! Oh, there's just no room. No room for Steve. I'm not an official to call that, but from the angle I had, it looked like he was given no space. Don't trust me. I only saw for a couple seconds. Simon Witten on the inside of Eddie Layton. He's going to overtake him before the penultimate corner even gets there. And can he hold it together on the straight? They are still about side by side. Can he hold this for P8? Eddie Layton and 9. They're both side by side going into turn 1. Eddie Layton, if he's late on the brakes, this is a great defensive move for him. Can he keep it together? Oh, and look at that. Simon Witten late on the brakes, but look at Eddie Layton. Wow, he gets through. David Flanagan possibly try to have a go at Simon Witten. And nothing just yet, folks. We have Craig Carroll and Dylan Maroney. They are still out. They have not pit for the mandatory pit. You can see the damage on Dylan Maroney there. And this is Craig Carroll ahead of Steve McAllister. Steve McAllister dropped back a couple seconds. That crash might have created some damage for him. That is really affecting the speed there. We have Christopher Daniel. Oh, and Elliot Burton is ahead of... I don't see this on the board here. And they are... Jacob Simmons goes into the pit lane. And while that's happening, Trey Mistack is also in the pit lane. So is Porsche Rexy of Austin McGill. Going to be looking at Eric Mack, who was on his outlap. Had gone... Ooh! Old tires after a pit stop. I think you could chalk that up to that. As Jacob Simmons comes out of the pit lane, where's he going to be? Out on track. He's P6 at the moment. P1 through 4 have not done their mandatory pit stop just yet. Trey Mistack is out in P5. Austin McGill is in P7 behind Jacob Simmons. And Chris Stewart, who's also already pit into P8 with Chris Lambeth behind in P9. Chris Lambeth was the first driver to pit and do an undercut of some sort. And I think might pan out. He's got 4 drivers that he might be able to pass when it comes time, or battle him into turn 1 when it comes time for those 4 drivers to make the move and pit. Elliot Burton and Christopher Daniel are battling, and looks like Elliot Burton is going to... Christopher Daniel gets ahead of Elliot Burton before the penultimate corner. And they're both going to have to go into the pit lane. Staying out this long, yeah, it's detrimental. And there they go. In the pit lane. Chris Chitterling goes in. David Flanagan, he's the last driver in P4. He's got to go in. Trey Mistack is going to get way ahead here, folks, from these drivers. As you can see, is Chris Lambeth going to be able to really gain positions here? So he's got to worry about Elliot Burton here, who's still in the pit lane. But he's about to come out. I think Chris Lambeth is in... Trey Mistack way ahead here, folks. There's Christopher Daniel, who overtakes Elliot Burton in the pit lane. I mean, he was already ahead of him, but he's behind him in some circles of that. Jacob Simmons, who rises to the occasion and gets ahead of the drivers that went for the overcut, and he stays P2, with Christopher Daniel in P3, Elliot Burton in P4, Chris Chitterling in P5. That is a great move for Chris Chitterling. That overcut worked for him, not so much for other people. Chris Stewart behind. Remember, Chris Stewart was ahead of Chris Chitterling, and there's the Porsche Rexy of Austin McGill, who might try to make a move into this corner. No, he doesn't. He slots back in. I think Austin McGill is down 5 places, so that's one of the only ones. Elliot Burton goes through and overtakes Christopher Daniel. I'm not quite sure. That's 2 times now. We've just seen these drivers kind of weave out in front of the other, and maybe just a slow... Ooh! Elliot Burton Yikes. That is relegation station for Chris Elliott Burton in P7 now from P2. Christopher Daniel up a position into P3. Chris Schierling up a position into P4. Chris Stewart now a little bit closer to Chris Schierling after the pit stop. They're all still on their out. A couple of these drivers on the outlet. But Christopher Stewart isn't. He should be ready in tone to battle these drivers, as Austin McGill is going to go side by side with Chris Stewart, car number 915 there, and he gets ahead. But is he going to be able to keep ahead on the straight? From P7 to P5 already for Austin McGill in just one lap. He's going to go defensive. That kind of slots back in. And he's looking good here. You have Jeff Koffold at P12 on Eddie Layton in the blue AMG Mercedes. Does not try to push and attack him on turn 1. Eric Mack in P18 on Matthew Wyckoff. Is he going to try to make a move on him into turn 1? I don't think so. But he was close. 2/10 off. There goes potential. Goes free. Their potential goes his free car or track. I'm not sure I understood that one. Am I having a stroke? Their potential goes his free car. Or track. I'm not sure I understand that one. Make it rain. I'm gonna make it rain. I'm sure I don't. Yeah, and he was looking really good on getting it too. I think you guys are talking about Elliott Burton. Yeah, who's just behind, and I still think I'm having a stroke. I still don't understand that, but let me know if I he's had great potential on the track, and then there it goes. Is that what I'm trying to understand? Austin got not sure. You have Eric Mack and Matthew Wyckoff still really close, 2/10 off difference, but is this a good exit for Eric Mack? Is he going to be able to go side by side with him? Does Matthew Wyckoff go defensive? I mean, he's going that line already, but is he going to stay there? Is this the moment? And they're going to go side by side. Who's braver? Whoa! And then Matthew Wyckoff doesn't really make the corner, but Eric Mack unable to make a move there because, I don't know, angles and everything of that. He keeps it. Typing is hard. I mean, potentially Elliott in the Ford losing 5 is tough. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when we did see a Ford doing pretty well until, I mean, he wasn't. I mean, ended on turn 1, last race. It's unfortunate. It's doing well. Other drivers looking like something's happening here. Kyle Howe. And Grant Michael. Ooh, he got a little slippery on the exit, and there he goes. That's Kyle Howe through for P24 3 on Grant Michael. Elliott Burton going to have to contend with the lap traffic. And we still got a lot of 6 or 7 laps to go. Some things can still shake up. Ooh, things already did shake up. We're going to go pull to a replay. We have Jeremy DeMezza here in P26. And there is the curbing, and there's the rear, and there's him off track. Unfortunate. And of course, Stecky is battling Eric Rodriguez. Looks like this is still a good position. P28 for the driver. Both drivers. Horrendous incident on turn 1. Or, I mean, turn 3. Massive incident on the opening laps. See where they're going to be at here. Ooh, so we're going to pan over to Craig Carroll and Dylan Maroney. And Craig Carroll is only separated by 0.2 here. It's actually going to look a little bit better. From this angle, oh no, he slots in. Trying to jumps back out. Thinking about a move, doesn't make a move. And again, just really not slotting in with Dylan Maroney's move on exit, but kind of popping to see, like, maybe I'll do something, maybe I won't. And nothing there. Austin McGill still P5 in the Porsche XC. None of these drivers have made any changes here. And going through, we have Christopher Daniel with a last of a 148.8. And Chris Chitterling with a 148.6. And Austin McGill with a 148. Oh, okay, that doesn't make sense. I can't trust my timing sheet right now. But they're not separated by much. Whoa. Is that a car crash? Hey, that is a car crash. This is Matthew Wyckoff. Who was in P20. Or 17 at the time. I'm not sure what happened. Not a crash, but it is him in the pits. Unknown as to what was going on with that driver. He was in a good position. As we're on board with Austin McGill. And then Battle of Chris's. Christopher Daniel is definitely ahead. I don't know if we're going to count Christopher in the Chris battle, but I think we should. He's still a Chris. And he's definitely P3 at the moment. And can he stay there? Could Chris Chitterling attack with some of 4 laps to go? I mean, he's not that... He's about 5/10 difference here. Austin McGill looking to set some pressure on Chris Chitterling here. Maybe hoping Chris Chitterling's going to make a mistake. But nothing yet. As we have Chris Chitterling, who is P4 at the moment. He's up 4 positions from the start. Austin McGill is down 3. Great qualifying result for Austin McGill, but has just lost positions either through the opening lap or through the pit stops. Sounds like someone else had a crash right there. Go. Lots of things happening there. Grant, Michael in P23, and Kyle Howe. Kyle Howe did pass Grant Michael a couple laps ago, and he looks to be pretty close. We have a lap driver ahead of him, I believe. But no, Steve McAllister is actually ahead. So these 3 drivers that we're on screen with, they are all battling on the leader's lap here, but the lap traffic is just ahead of them. More apt to say it's this driver of... Oh, that Bryce Bombach still is in it too. What's that? That is Eric Koonsman behind. That is the lap traffic. But Trey Mistack, Peter Flanders P24, still there on the leader's lap, and just behind him is Trey Mistack, 21-second gap. I mean, talk about a sail to the finish line. He just has to keep it together. Trey Mistack has a 9.7-second gap to Jacob Simmons. And back on board with Austin McGill. It looks like he was really close. I mean, nothing separating those bumpers. And nothing happening just yet either. So we have Elliot Burton in P7 and Chris Stewart behind. And that's Nicholas DeVille, who's let him by, and he's P24. And back on board, though, we have Jacob Simmons in P2. He's got a 9.5-second gap to P1. Christopher Daniel behind him is 1.4 seconds back in P3. Chris Chitterling is 1.5 seconds back to P3 to P4. Oh! And that is an incident. Jacob Simmons was P2. Ooh! Oh! Yikes! That is what you don't want to happen in the ending laps of a race. He has gone down a couple positions there. You hate to see it, folks. He's actually going into the pit lane. No, he must have a meatball. And that is it for Jacob Simmons. Promotion for Christopher Daniel as he keeps it together through the turn 1 and 2. And Austin McGill is flashing Chris Chitterling. Not sure what that's about. But Christopher Daniel is now sitting comfortably in P2. And he's inherited a couple positions through driver errors, which really goes to show you, I mean, consistency sometimes is what gets you through. And there goes Austin McGill on the inside of Chris Chitterling, as they're going to go side by side in the next corner. And it's going to go to Chris Chitterling. Oh, the move looked like it was on and over, but there goes Austin McGill back to P4. There's no flashing happening here. Okay. Now is Chris Chitterling going to go defensive? It doesn't look like just yet. And look at Austin McGill really getting a lot out of this. Oh, it looks like he even tapped him slightly. Maybe I don't think he tapped him, but it was a little close from this onboard angle. It looked like he did give him a little nudge, but I could be completely wrong. A better angle would show that they didn't actually touch. But is this the move? Is it possible here? He got him in into sector 2. Here we go. Down the straight. He pulls out ahead of Chris Chitterling for P3. And he goes deep. He goes deep. Austin McGill is going to probably have a slowdown penalty for that one. And Chris Chitterling's going to go through and have a good run. And there's nothing he can do on that one. This could be the final lap. I believe it's the final lap, actually. It might be the white flag. Is there anyone further back? See a white flag. They got rid of the men that wave the white flag. Or I don't have it enabled. That could be it as well. I feel like that's a... No other driver on the grid is very close. P25, 6, and 7 look to be really close. So there goes Eric Rodriguez on Nicholas DeVille. That's Chris Lambeth in P7, who's going to have to pass all these drivers. And Nicholas DeVille not really giving up the position. that being said, he's flashing him to let him by, and there he goes. He finally gets it. Now we're going to the final straight here. There's start straight finish, and still no flag, but I believe that's a white flag. This is definitely going to be the final lap then. For Trey Mistak, Christopher Daniel. Jacob Simmons, who pit is in P12 at the moment. P13. Oh no, he's P12. Jacob Simmons about to overtake for P11. I thought his race was over, but his pit must have been really quick. I think they have a fast repair in this one. But he's going to overtake Eddie Layton on the straight. Is he going to be able to hold it there? Jeff Koffold is down the inside shape for being defensive as well. This is going to be a weird battle into turn one. Really tight. And Jeff kind of backing up the order here. And Jacob Simmons had the move down, but in the corner it doesn't go his way. And that is unfortunate. If those two had the same livery, I would say they're teammates, but they don't. And that move really benefited Eddie Layton there. And what a move. And on the final lap, can Austin McGill take P3, go to the podium? Elliot Burton just behind in P5. He's down by a second, though, to P4. Anything happens between these two, but for the final corner, this is going to be disastrous. Not that anyone would wish that upon them. Trey Mistak is going to... Oh, there he goes down the inside line, and he's just got to keep it on the exit here. They're side by side. Chris Schitterling has to go a little bit wider, and given the space, looks like they're super close. Who's it going to go to? Down the straight, I think it was Austin McGill. Yes, it was Austin McGill. Austin McGill goes through. Takes P3. Whoa. Trey Mistak wins the race by a comfortable 13.5 seconds. Christopher Daniel in P2. Austin McGill on the exit takes P3. Chris Schitterling in P4. Elliot Burton in P5. Chris Stewart in P6. Chris Lambeth in P7, Simon Witten in P8, Zachary Nunnery in P9, Jeff Koffold in P10, Jacob Simmons in P11. Was P2, goes to P11. That's still a good result. Eddie Layton in P12, David Flanagan in P13, Joshua Herron in 14. To take a look at the results here. And then Brandon Renfro in 15, Eric Mack in 16, Dylan Maroney, Tyler Kern in 17, Dylan Maroney in 18, Craig Carroll in P19, as he's going to cross the line here, Bryce Bombach in P20, Grant Michael in P21, Peter Flanner in P22, Steve McAllister in P23, Kyle Howe in P24, Andrew Korsecki in P25, Eric Rodriguez in P26, Jeremy Demesa in P27, Nicholas DeVille in P28, Eric Koonsman in P29, Matthew Wyckoff in P30, 5 laps down, and Noah Hoskinson in P31, retired early, 16 laps down. It says different on this race thing, but trust the results of the commentator here, folks. That's the race. Thanks for watching. What a weird ending there for some of the top 5. Just really went away from them. But we're going to do this again for round 6. Catch us next time, next Sunday. And then we have an off week, and then we start the season over again. This is the GT3 Championship Series. For Broken Ring Racing League. We have other series. We have a Discord. We have a bunch of different things hosted. Craig Carroll, Noah Hodgkinson, thank them. They set it all up with a couple admins on hand. Thank you for joining me. And if you like it, watch the next one. Have a good evening.